Hello, everyone. It's me, Clayton. I just finished watching Boy Kills World, starring Bill Skarsgard, the voice of H. John Benjamin, Jessica Roth, Famke Johnson, Andrew Koji, Charlotte Copley, and a bunch of other great actors and actresses. So, this film happens to be a revenge story in the style of various comic books, video games, and other revenge films. And thankfully, when it comes to that kind of style, it's not exactly Scott Pilgrim versus the World when it comes to execution, but it's definitely still a fun romp that should satisfy those who are a bit hesitant about Skarsgård being the new Crow. Well, let's get to the story, shall we? The story revolves around Boy, played by Bill Skarsgård, who is rendered both a deaf and a mute when his mother and his sister are taken from him from Hilda Vanderkoy, played by Famke Johnson. Vanderkoy happens to be the head of a corrupt family that's in charge of a totalitarian regime. So Boy has to train under a shaman in order to gain the skills necessary to become an ultimate killing machine, capable of taking down the Vanderkoy family and maybe creating hope for society where they considering that the family goes through a bit of culling every single year to maintain their dominance. Especially considering that the movie takes place after a war that's never really explained, so that's how the Vanderkoys have total power in this world. That's all I'll say about the story. The story here is pretty simple and feels like something that would be the setup to an extremely violent video game or a 90s action film like a John Wick movie. But it definitely allows the action of the film to take center stage, and it certainly is about as hectic as Boy's mental state. Not only does he have to give himself an inner voice, played by H. John Benjamin, aka Sterling Archer, but he also happens to meet tons of fun characters along the way. There's this guy played by Andrew Koji is who's basically about as unreliable as he is hilarious. There's June 27th, who's the head of security for the Vanderkoys, played by Jessica Ruth, who basically gets to be as cool as she was in Happy Death Day, only with her dying a lot less, of course. And the Vanderkoys themselves naturally have a lot of charisma too. But when you have Charlotte Copley as one of them, you know he's gonna at least give you a few laughs. Yeah, between this and Monkey Man, he's getting a lot of roles in these lesser known action films. Thankfully, the action scenes hit hard, they're fast, they're energetic, and they're full of great references, such as Mortal Kombat like fatalities when limbs are being torn off. There's a really creative sequence with a bunch of cereal mascots being killed off. And there are several close calls for Boy and his various allies throughout the film. On top of that, even the ending credits get in on the video game and comic book references and the art style throughout. Especially considering for as violent and gory as the film is, it still manages to have a great color palette and happens to have a lot of fun with the action scenes and the actors involved. You can tell that pretty much everyone in the production is having a good time, even when the final fight happens to have some very brutal moments that wouldn't be out of place in a John Wick film. However, I do think that the extremely fast pacing and some of the dialogue aren't exactly the film's strong points. It's definitely more of a style over substance kind of film, but the style is often enough to keep you going, and it's often enough to make you entertained, even when the characters can be a little two dimensional and when the story has some twists and turns you can see coming. So, Boy Kills World isn't a massive success, but it is a fun time at the movies. That's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. See you next time.